Good morning, or I guess it's good afternoon, everyone. It is September 24th. We all survived the end of the world again. Good on you. That's all I'm going to say about that. I've got Anne with me and Brianna, and we were just having an impromptu chat. Just getting together Sunday morning, shooting the shit. And then the topics are getting really thick and heavy. I was like, okay, we need to record this. So to give you the basic rundown of what we've been discussing. We've been discussing, obviously, all the hurricanes. I was watching a video talking about a guy who's in the militias, talking about the cleanup in Houston and what was going on after Hurricane Harvey. I had multiple people send me the video, and the guy is very obviously very sincere. Like, you really get the fact this guy's not telling bullshit. He's giving you what happened is what happened. I'm bored. You're bored? Well, go play with the kids because I'm recording something right now. I know, terrible, isn't it? Off you go. It's a rainy day and goes out. One rainy day and that's it. He's bored. So, hold on, guys, just a second. So I was talking about this and talking about this video on this guy talking about the shit that was going on in Texas after Hurricane Harvey. Agencies swooping in, and he was talking about, you know, obviously the FEMA stuff and Red Cross, and we've heard all the reports about yet another clusterfuck. People are going missing. All kinds of stuff. But I don't want to get into the details of that. That's one aspect. We have Hurricane Irma. We looked at, again, this mass evacuation of Florida and the devastation, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have the Caribbean islands that were hit. So Barbuda has been completely evacuated. There's no one left on Barbuda. Saint Martin, a lot have been evacuated. A lot of other islands, we're looking at people being evacuated. We have now Costa Rica and the massive storm that's going on there. Now, Costa Rica, we got, not Costa Rica, sorry, Puerto Rico. I always confuse the two, Puerto Rico. Now, the things there with the Puerto Rico, you've got some interesting shit there because home of the IRS, purportedly where all the birth certificates and social insurance numbers are stored. They defaulted in 2015, which basically means the American government defaulted in 2015, the Federal Reserve. There's a whole lot of stuff playing out there that you can just see the undercurrent is there's something more to this. This is being set out for an agenda. I want to jump over the pond. And I want to talk about, for example, again, evacuations. In Russia, over a 2 or 3 week period, there were massive evacuations all over the major cities, Moscow, St. Petersburg, due to bomb threats. And coordinated bomb threats, where all of a sudden these bomb threats were coming in all at the same time, and they'd have to evacuate theaters, shopping malls, government buildings, etc. Massive amount of evacuations in Russia last week, or the week before. We talked about Frankfurt, and they evacuate the entire business, the Frankfurt, Germany's equivalent of Wall Street, due to a World War II bomb that gets found. They evacuate that whole area for an entire day. The day before that, in another smaller city in Germany, was completely evacuated for a World War II bomb. Again, the week after that, not even a week, I think it was only 5 days later, in Greece, an entire city was evacuated due to a World War II bomb. We have now going on in Bali, there's the volcanoes and the earthquakes in Bali, and they're evacuating Bali. We have different things happening. So Brianna was talking about in Romania. And Brianna, you'll have to send me the pictures of that storm front as it came in. The unknown storm front, the storm that hit Bucharest that no one even freaking knew was coming, is horrific, hurricane-esque type storm hits. And then a few days later, they announced there's a massive hurricane storm coming, and they're talking about evacuating the city. What did you guys have?
Closing down.
And you guys had rain. Like nothing. Now that happened in Russia as well last June, where they had a hurricane appear in Moscow out of fucking nowhere. No one had any clue it was going to hit, to the point it actually took some of the roof off, a little piece of the roof off part of the Kremlin. And then not even a few days later, they put a big, everyone gets on their phone a message saying, massive hurricane is coming, prepare, prepare, prepare. And again, they had fucking nothing. Maybe it was a rainstorm, maybe, but nothing. So there's the basis point that we're looking at. The basis point, evacuations. And there is got to be something going on with this. This is not just these are not single events. I do not believe that these can possibly be single events. When we're seeing massive evacuations, and I've forgotten a few, like there's a bunch more of the evacuations that have happened over the last month. There's something going on. Now, the topic we brought up was, which is an interesting one to look at. We know the storms are, like, we know Harvey and Irma were man-made fucking storms. We know the one probably over not Puerto Rico, I almost said it again, over Puerto Rico, I got it right that time, is most likely a man-made storm. Massive storms been hitting England now for what? Like, you guys have been having ridiculous weather up in the United Kingdom and in Ireland for a week and a half, 2 weeks now. What's the purpose? And I don't mean the purpose as in, we can look at it from the real basic level and be like, oh, it's the New World Order. They're just trying to wipe us all out. Sure, maybe, okay. But that just doesn't play into the shit that we're seeing elsewhere, the other symptoms, if you will say. And one of the questions I want to bring up is, we're watching in the States, FEMA and the Red Cross have shown themselves so transparently to be completely and 100% utterly fucking useless. They have not saved a single life, and in years, anywhere. And as a matter of fact, anyone who's boots on the ground in any of the areas where these guys come in talk about how they're nothing but disruptive. They just screw everything up. Everything. I mean, everything they touch falls apart. I don't know. There's a part of me that says, oh, well, it could be that they're just staffed by morons who are corrupt themselves, who just want to take in all the donations and the money and FEMA camps and all the rest of it. We've all heard all the crap. But there's got to be more to it than that. That just seems too simplistic. Like there's got to be more to it. And we got to a point in the conversation of discussing the what if. What if this is that transparency to show people that they need to be responsible for themselves? That you cannot possibly rely on this. You look at the mass exodus from Florida for Hurricane Irma. Gridlock cars on every highway, on every road, going north. It's disaster. In other words, if a natural disaster actually had happened, everyone on those highways would have been wiped out. And they had to have known that. Like, you had to have been sitting in your car during this evacuation going, that storm hits, we're fucked. Like, we're sitting ducks, sitting out here in the open. Why the hell did we listen to these people? And they're going sirens as usual. Every conversation, there's always a siren at some point in time in the conversation.
I did not move to the Bronx. Bucharest, Romania is turning into the fucking Bronx for some reason.
Welcome to Harlem in Europe. What is the actual underlying reason for this shit? And that's what we were discussing. Now, and you were talking about Bali, because you've got friends in Bali who have actually been part of in this evacuation.
Yeah. And I was just saying it's interesting to compare and contrast how people respond to this evacuation or have responded to the evacuation notice. My ex and his family are pretty sharp. They were watching the signs that the volcano would erupt, and they made a bug out plan really early. They split the family up, went to they're in different locations, high places. They went on motorbikes. They got there, they're all settled in and happy. The rest of the people who didn't have a plan or who didn't really think, just got in their cars and got on the road, and they're now sitting in traffic jams. And if they're in the path of the magma flow, too bad. Too bad, there's nowhere to go. So yeah, that was one of the things that we were thinking about, the kind of, in a terrible way, the survival of the fittest, that the people who think for themselves will get out with their own plan, and the lemmings, will be stuck perhaps. But it's certainly something to bring to people's attention, to just to bring into consciousness that things are really, really unstable now. And we've got to think for ourselves and figure out, where to go and what to do if we need to. And that's something you and the preppers have been saying for years, isn't it? But it seems now it's really come into focus.
Well, so Troy, I got we're all sick again in my house. We all have colds again. I don't even want to go there. We're watching natural disasters after natural. So we've got earthquake. I mean, just look at the last month between Bali and the volcano and the earthquakes. And Mexico with multiple earthquakes now. And then hurricanes. And we look at the hurricanes, so Texas, Louisiana, Florida, the Caribbean islands. We're even in England. Even in England, like I'm saying, we've got friends down there in the south who have just been rain and wind and rain and wind, etc. The weather is extremely fucked up everywhere. We've got a massive storm on right here, right now. We've got a little bit of a lull at the moment. It feels like the rain stopped again, but it started 9 o'clock this morning. The thunder, the lightning, the waves are going again, the whole bit. Not completely unusual, but at the same time, not usually something we get in September. This is more like November, December type weather. We're seeing craziness that is storms appearing out of nowhere. Like what Brianna had down in Bucharest, was it 2 weeks ago? That storm that hit you guys. And there were more people killed in Bucharest from that storm than there were in Hurricane Irma in Florida. Of course, it's not on the news. Like the news never makes that comparison. We're seeing really, really weird fucking shit. So yeah, on the very basis point, the basic motto is be prepared. And anyone, I'm sorry, if you're not going to take responsibility for yourself and your family, you've been warned. People have been warned, and people look out, look around you. Take your head out of the TV or out of I don't know, at a meditation maybe, and just say, hey, let's look around what's actually going on, and it's time to be prepared. And you can sit there and go, all my good intentions are going to protect me, and good luck with that. Because I'm sure there were lots of people in all those areas who had good intentions to protect them too. There were a lot of unfuckers in Texas and in Florida who still lost everything regardless of all their good intentions. So, don't mean to pop bubbles, but I'm going to pop that one. But there's more going on here than meets the eye. Certain things, for example, the receding tides, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago during the Irma stuff, and I said, never mind the winds, the floods, the rains, etc. The point that we should really be looking at is where the fuck did all the water go? Well, that just happened again in Brazil, again. No storms. There were no hurricanes anywhere near those areas. That's 2 in a month, or a month and a half. No, in a month. Where the water just frickin' disappeared.
And we're not talking, people will come out and say, yeah, it was the equinox, there's big tides. Yes, in the Atlantic, but not this, not this level.
No.
Not this level of huge receding.
No.
Yes.
If it was the equinox, then it would happen every year.
Yeah, and it does, but not those. Let's say Brazil now. Not the ones that were 3 weeks ago. That was not the equinox. The Brazil one had to happen around the equinox. Okay, but the level, we're talking miles. I grew up near, the sea. I grew up near a French sea where we had tides. And yes, it does. It's not. I looked at the videos again and again. No, not to this extent. So it is not normal. There is no rational explanation yet.
No, and that's the thing. And they're meteorologists and the usual talking heads with NOAA and NASA and God name a group. They're throwing out fucking stupidities like, oh, it's the wind. Really? Oh, it's because of the hurricane. No hurricane in Brazil. Sorry, there was no hurricane. Oh, when they are coming up with irrational reasons, explanations, etc., there's a problem. Now, interestingly enough, the first time we'd heard the term ever used was last year. There's a new terminology for a hurricane up here where we are called a medicane, as in a hurricane that comes from the Mediterranean area, which is fucking bullshit. I'm sorry. This did not ever exist. There was never ever a term called the medicane. And yet we've got a young man. I kind of want to introduce him to people like Dutch Sints, etc., just to see how far this young guy could go. And he's a guy who's passionate about the weather. And he started his own Facebook page locally here in Gozo. He was 15. And he's now to the point now where we all go to his page to get accurate predictions of the weather. Because he is more accurate than the National Weather Database people or anything. Hold on, guys. Just give me a pause here. This young guy is more accurate than any of the national weather agencies. He is pinpointed, and he's now going to university to do weather. Yeah, I know. You guys are missing it. I have to keep pausing the video because my kids are just like, you'd think I fed them chocolate for breakfast, but I didn't, I promise. And he did a report on medicanes last week. And Nick and I both went, oh, really? Medicanes, right? Young guy. And he said, oh, there's nothing coming. Like he kind of prefaced his report saying, there's nothing coming. Like it's not like I'm not, but I'm just letting people know this is what a medicane is. Yeah, right. Brand new definitions for things that have never been seen before, which is across the board. We've got clouds, new forms of clouds that they're coming up with new explanations for and new definitions on it, new forms of precipitation and new forms of lightning, and they're continuously coming up with these, oh, it's a rare occurrence, but now it happens all the time. Bullshit for like bizarre lightning patterns. Shit is going on. You can't deny it. Shit is going on. But these evacuations, to bring it back to point, these evacuations we were discussing, is it a test? Are they doing test runs? So they have to come up with excuses. If you're governments, if you're Russia, now there have been, and I wish we had Ihor here with us, there have been multiple evacuations done. And they do major evacuation drills in Russia as well. Like military type drills, if you like, where they evacuate massive areas, and they do practice this evacuation. If you know something is coming, something is going to happen, or even you're just taking note of the shit going on, oh, we need to prepare our people, so let's start throwing some evacuation tests going on here. Is that what we're seeing? Are they getting prepared? Are they literally like, okay, we're going to show you Florida, this is gridlock, this is a useless evacuation route, you better come up with something better for the next one. And I'm sure most of my friends in Florida have got to be able to say, well, that didn't work. You better come up with another idea, because that certainly didn't work. Is this a preparation? Is this like a training program where they're trying to see how they can get people to evacuate, or without causing panic, which is just fucking ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. Thoughts, guys? I'm
the only thing that comes to, because I know you and Anne are going to address the trauma part of it, the anxiety aspect of, which is also in the airs, and that's extremely important to talk about, to remain calm, how to bring ourselves back to a relative state of calm, because when you are calm, you can make a decision, you can think, you don't, if you go into panic. I'm also going to bring in the fact that you have been starting to do all these new shows about community and the need to come back to community, as in not, your hippie woo-woo.
Not commune.
Exact. Community, as in we are in communities. We are in virtual communities together, watching your shows, getting together, talking about it, wherever. Those are communities as well. And why am I bringing this up? Because I'm tying it to all these evacuation things, all these weather events that prompt, and there will be more probably, which will prompt the need to evacuate or to move for a few days and to be prepared. And I want to tie it in with this need for community that a lot of us are feeling. Because until we know we all get to do our little green communities, and I hope we all do, we need to get together and have, be prepared on an individual level, you and your family, your household. Be prepared. Be prepared doesn't mean you have to go all out like in this, these crazy TV shows and have guns and then, okay, whatever. But have a few days of foods that don't need heating, have water for you and your pets. Think about your pets. Have drinkable water and have a little bit. If you live in a city, have water that is for spare. If your toilet doesn't work for 3 days, I'm sorry, it's literal, but you're in deep shit.
Bathing water, right? Like you need to have water. Even if you just fill your bathtub up with tap water, so you've got water you can flush your toilet with, that you can brush your teeth with, wash your body with.
then not necessarily drinkable grade. You know, don't buy fucking bottled water for that. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. You know, buy big, if you can find them. Here in Romania, we have these big, you know, like, I don't know, it would be the equivalent of a gallon, you know, 5-liter big jugs of water. Have a few of those for drinking purposes, and have regular tap water stored into, again, you know, big containers. Just put it somewhere for everything else.
Yep.
In case, and make sure, you know, aside from you and your immediate, you know, family, think if you're in the city or if you're in a place, you know, a suburb, there's people around you. Think of the vulnerable people. Have a plan. There are people who will not be prepared. You can't save the world, but you can come together as a community and have in mind that there are people around you that may be more vulnerable, that will need help. Be prepared to help them too. That is community.
Yeah.
That is, you know, have your little plan. Don't go all out. Don't go all out crazy. Oh my God. But have your little plan prepared. Have your, like, at least a week of dried foods and stuff that you can munch on. Nutritious and easy, you know, if it gets wet, nothing happens. And have in mind, you know, make a plan with your neighbors. Don't just do it on your individual level.
Yeah.
Go a step further and talk about it with your neighbors, with the people in your surroundings.
Yeah.
This person is elderly. She couldn't or he could not, you know, okay, be ready to help. If you have to get out, be ready to see if you can take that person with you. That's about, I think I've covered it. I mean,
well, but that's part of the common unity of what I've been talking about. Is it's all very fine and dandy for us to have our little online communities and cliques, and we're all really comfortable talking with each other, and we can express ourselves and everything, but we need to be involved in finding common unity with people everywhere. If you're in a physical place, find people who you can reach out to. Like I said, where there's just one common interest, something, because you can start helping people and they can help you at the same time, and you bring community together. Being prepared doesn't have to be a big thing. It's like I said, it does not have to be a big major thing. You know what? If you live in a flooded an area that has a history of flooding, then yeah, you should have a bug out bag. You should have a bug out bag ready so that you've got your change of clothes, enough food and water for at least a day for you to get out, and whatever's important, i.e. your important documents, i.e. anything that is vital that you hang on to, your hard drives, whatever, and be prepared to get out. If you're not in a floodplain or in a earthquake area, or, you know, if you're in a relatively stable area, then you have bug-in preparations. And like I said, it doesn't have to be massive. We used to, you know, we always bought distilled water, so I always had tons of the big, like you say, 5-liter jugs. And when we finished a jug of distilled water, I went to the bathroom and I filled it up with tap water, and it went down into our basement. So I always had like at least 20, 30, 40 liters at least of tap water on hand for washing the toilet. Which, I mean, even if you just have a power outage, if you just, you can't, you know, your water pumps aren't working, this is just common sense kind of stuff to have if you have the space available, right? Something's going on. I don't think anyone can deny this. We're seeing way, way weird shit happening. There's nothing we can do, i.e.
if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, whatever.
It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And deny it if you want, but it's happening all over the world right now. Now, the mainstream media doesn't talk about Pakistan, and it doesn't talk about India and Sri Lanka and floods in Malaysia, and they're not talking about earthquakes in Japan, and they're not talking. What we're seeing with Harvey and Irma is happening all over the world. There are hundreds and thousands of people who have died in the last 3 weeks due to massive storms and flooding all over Asia. We know what's going on. No, we don't. Do we know what the reason is for what's going on? No, we don't. And we can theorize. We can sit back and we can theorize. We can say, it's the end of days, it's Nibiru, it's the red kachina, it's the, pick one. Really, I pick one. You know, the earth is tilting, the magnetic poles are shifting, I pick one. We can spend all our time debating and theorizing, and I will, because we all know that I'm totally addicted to these kind of discussions. I will totally analyze it. But the outcome is still the same. The response that we need to have, in my opinion, is still the same. Regardless of what the reason is, it doesn't matter if it's natural or man-made, an earthquake is a fucking earthquake. A flood is a flood. Doesn't matter where it came from. And people need to be prepared and take responsibility. And we're back to this, again, the big fucking word, responsibility. And if you want to talk about transparency, FEMA, Red Cross, Clinton Foundation, they're giving us all the transparency we need to know that the governments are not going to fucking help you. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm getting darker and darker because the light here is getting worse and worse as the storm's rolling in. They're not going to help. So if you have, I'm sorry, a mom and a dad who just won't listen to you, and you know they're not good, they're going to rely on FEMA or the government or the police or someone to rescue them in a situation, you're going to make a choice. You're going to have to make a choice. Am I going to take responsibility for my parents and make sure they're looked after? I've often joked with the fact that I know that would be my job in Canada. If I was still in Canada, I would be one of the first stops. And I've actually seen it, like, in different things that I've seen play out and been like, one of those first stops of, like, saying, get in the fucking car. We will meet you at this road. Get out now. And it's not about being pessimistic, because this is so much attention is put on this. Oh, you're being pessimistic, or you're feeding into the negative energy. That's not what it's about.
Danny, you know, to come back to what Brianna was saying about the levels of anxiety on the planet now, if you know what you're going to do, and if you have in your head, you have a plan, that immediately lowers the anxiety about what's going to happen.
Own it. Take the responsibility out of the hands. Don't let your life and your feelings, because anxiety is part of it. Don't let your life be in the hands of somebody else.
Yep.
Be a government agency, a private agency, I don't care. Own it. Be responsible means take it back into your sphere of what you can do. You cannot change the world. No. You cannot change your government right now, no matter where in the world. Believe me, this is an activist talking. But right now, being in the street with a big banner will do shit. Exactly shit. This is not the time to be screaming and yelling and dividing into camps, yelling at each other. Can we stop that for a minute and look up? Because there's shit going on. And we're losing time yelling at each other instead of paying attention to the bigger shit going on. And that bigger shit does require us to sit down, breathe, and yes, be prepared, not in a crazy, hysterical way. Like Danny and Anne say, just be prepared in a very normal way. Have a little silly radio that works on these 2 little batteries. Just
a hand crank. You can get hand crank radios for nothing now. The first shower I bought for Nick was like, I don't know, $40 or something. Well, that was like 10 years ago. And now you can buy them online, little hand crank radios you can even use to charge your cell phone and charge your laptop. I mean, literally, and okay, granted, you're going to sit there and you're going to be cranking for a long time to charge your laptop, but it still gives you access to communications, power, etc. It's there.
Yeah, yeah, because that's another thing. You know, communications will be important. I mean, they are important. If the power goes out, and the power can go out in a big storm, it doesn't take a massive disaster. A big storm, the power in Romania, we have blackouts sometimes for no fucking reason at all. So, you know, storm comes in, no power. And right now, I don't know about other countries, but for instance, in Romania, even the landlines are internet dependent because they're linked to the internet. There's no more regular good old landline. No, your phone is internet connected. So if the power goes out, you don't have a phone at all.
Yeah.
At all. Your mobile phone may work if the relays are still working, or may not, or may be completely fucked. Anyway, the last time we had a 6-point earthquake, this is earthquake country, the phones, you could not use your cell phone because it was busy. Everybody was trying to call everybody, of course.
Yeah.
First reaction, you call everybody, are you okay? So anyway, yes, I suppose Danny will link underneath this video, we'll link a few, you know, what she was talking about. What can you have handy that doesn't require power, that you can charge a cell phone with, a laptop, to have communications?
Yep. Even things like, for example, internet sticks, like the travel sticks. And when we lived in Morocco, that's all the internet we had, was the stick that goes on. So if your battery in your laptop is fully powered, I could plug in my stick. And there was several times I did news shows in the dark, lit by candles because we had no power, but my battery was fully charged and my internet stick works regardless as long as I had a phone or a tablet or a laptop to plug it into. Even if it's only good enough for you to get a couple of messages out, it's still better than nothing. And again, the way you get rid of fear is to face your fear. And the way you face your fear is to be prepared. Because there's nothing worse, and I've watched it over and over and over again. People run around, and you guys, I'm sure, all have, especially in Texas and Florida. You probably saw a lot of it, with people running around like chickens with their heads cut off because they are not even remotely prepared. And they're doing that, I don't know where it is, I can't find it. When you're prepared, you don't have the anxiety level. You don't have the fear level because you know, okay, I have everything that I can take care of is taken care of. And now I'm okay because I'm confident that I've put these measures in place. And you may not use them for 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. You still sit with the place. Even here now, I do not have my prepper kind of shit going on like I used to in Canada. My situation is a little different. Gozo being what it is, this little tiny island, the farms are here. You're always going to be able to find someone who's growing carrots and potatoes, and there's chickens, and there's, you know. But I still practice certain things. Like all our important documents and papers, I know exactly where they are. So I have to leave the house fast. I have one bag I open up. Everything that I need is in that bag. From old hard drives that may have your family photos on, whatever, to the important documents like birth certificates and passports, et cetera, I know exactly where they are. I know that I can have everyone in my house packed up and out the door with 5 minutes notice and be prepared. Because not only is it a matter of what I have on hand, I already have it here. I already have the knowledge up here. And when you have that, everything else becomes much easier. Because you've already pre-planned it. You've already thought it through. You already have an idea of exactly where you would have to go, what you need to do, et cetera, et cetera. There's shit going on. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. Like I said, it's not about being afraid, and it's not about getting freaked out or feeding negative energies. It's about being a realist about what's going on. So I just want people to just be aware. Now, Ann and I are going to be starting a new show that we will probably do once a month or so. And it's going to be about taking back responsibility and taking back our health, our whole health, and being responsible for our whole health. And we're going to look at a lot of different subjects. Tonight is the first show at 11 p.m. Sunday night on the 24th of September. 11 p.m. Central Europe, sorry, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 7 a.m. tomorrow, Sydney. And we're going to be discussing some of this other stuff too. And part of that taking responsibility and losing the fear is if you know how to take responsibility for yourself and your health. This all plays into it. Looking at what's going on and being able to move forward and look after ourselves and our families and our community around us in a way that's healthy, in a way that is not reliant upon the mainstream medical machine, in the same way that you don't want to be reliant on FEMA or the Red Cross or fucking pick an agency. So that's what we're going to be discussing. And of course, Common Unity, the other show that I'm doing with Ben, we're going to be continuing these discussions too. Time to move forward. It's time to move forward in a realistic manner and look at what's really, really going on around us. I don't know, guys. Do you have anything else to add? Or are we done?
We're done.
We're done.
Try to rise above.
Yeah.
Rise above and talk about it. Yes. Guys, keep together. Keep the conversation going. Keep together. Keep in touch. Don't, honestly, fuck politics. This is not a time to be, look at it, let it be aware of what's going on. But fuck politics. This is not the time to be focusing on whatever the world leaders are. Take your life into your own hands. Take yourself. Take responsibility. We'll be saying this over and over again, in writing, in talking. Be responsible. Own it. Own what you're doing right now. Own. You cannot control. We cannot control everything. No, we can't control what's going on. No, we can't. But we can control what we do about it, and we can control how we respond to it. That's essential.
How we react, how we respond, how we prepare is totally under our control. I agree. Okay, guys, thank you very, very much. Bye.